So there we are. So this is how it will happen, right? Because minus pi by 2 and pi by 2, the values are infinite, because 1 upon 0 is infinite or not defined, you can say. So that is why this is like this. Okay, and what is at pi? So, cos pi is minus 1. If you don't know, see the graph, right? So cos x is going to be minus 1, and from left or right, the values of cos x is going to be negative. You look on the graph, right? That we have drawn for the cos x, right? For pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2, all the values of this is going to, at pi by 2 it is 0, 3 pi by 2 it is also 0, but at pi it is going to be minus 1, and the values is negative. That is why it is touching it, right? So this is how, and remember that they are not touching this one, they are just moving parallelly. Okay, so this is how it happens. And similarly for here also, it will go like this. This is, I guess, 5 pi by 2, and similarly for here also, you can draw it like this. Like this, and this is like this. Okay, so this is how the graph looks like. Okay, and what so it is not continuous. Surely it is not continuous, and it is but it is periodic. How? If you means I'm not able to draw the graph completely, so I'm drawn it, but it is not exactly to show how it is periodic. So I can show you like this. Okay, yeah, like this. So from here to here, if you look minus 3 by 2 to pi by 2, if you look from here to here, same thing and same thing, and after that this and this, and after this also the graph is exactly look like same. Okay, so this is the period, means this plus this, this plus this, and this is going to keep repeating itself. That is why it is periodic, and the period is going to be minus 3 pi by 2 and pi by 2. So if you see the range, this is 2 pi. Minus 3 pi by 2 plus 2 pi is pi by 2, and pi by 2 plus 2 pi is 5 pi by 2. So that is how they are in period. So it is periodic. Okay, so for y equals to sec x, it is, so I will draw it later on. Okay, so y equals to sec x is a periodic, and y equals to sec x is periodic. It is of period 2 pi, and what you can say, anything else about this? Yeah, it is discontinuous also. Okay, so it is discontinuous. There is a break here from at minus pi by 2, at pi by 2, at 3 pi by 2, at 5 by 2. Leave it. I will write it on the end of this video. Okay, I will write it. So this is how you can think of. Okay, so this is the graph of cos x, sec x. Now I am going to show you how you can draw the graph of cos sec x. And it is a reciprocal of sin x. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this. Okay, so like this. So now you know that sin 0 is not defined, so it means it is surely mean it is not defined at 0, or you can say that at sin pi by 2 it is maximum, right? So at pi by 2, sin pi by 2, it is maximum, means the value is going to be 1 over here. So the graph is like this: sin 0 at pi. Okay, like this. So this is pi by 2, and at pi it is not defined, so the graph is like this. So at 0 it is not defined, at this it is not defined. At minus pi by 2 the value is going to be minus 1, so minus 1 is here. So the graph is like this. Okay, so the graph is like this. At minus pi by 2 the value is going to be minus 1. That's because this is why it is minus 1. At 0, if you look on the graph of sin x, you will see that from minus pi to this is what it is 0. So minus pi to 0, the value of sin x is negative. So the cosec x is also going to be negative, and so that is why the graph is falling into the negative side. So that is why it is negative. Cosec x is negative from minus pi to 0 because sin x is negative, and minus pi by 2 is minus 1. That is why it is here minus 1 and show like this. So from here to here, it is going from here to here. So this is going to be at minus 3 pi by 2 it is plus 1. At minus 3 pi by 2 it is plus 1. So the graph is like this. Like this. The same thing will happen for this also. At 3 pi by 2 it is minus 1. So that is why the graph is like this. Like this. Okay. And for 5 pi by 2 it is 1. Sin pi by 2 it is 1, and so it is go like this. Okay, so here also you can see that the graph is like this, and it is being repeated this and this and so on. They are going to be keep repeating itself. That is why they are periodic, and their period is 2 pi. So you can just make a note of means just draw it. And one more thing, this is a task for you, right? For the next class or for the next lecture, you have to draw all the 6 what you can say, yeah, all the 6 these graphs, all 6 graphs in your you can say chart sheet or something which is little bit large, so that you can draw all these things very clearly. Draw all 6 trigonometric functions on the same graph, right? So like on the same thing I can draw 0 pi by 2. Okay, so something like this, like this. Okay, so sin x, cosec x, and on the same graph you draw all the graphs of all trigonometric function. You do it, right? This is the task for you, and just do it. Okay, so something you should know that. So trigonometric functions. So sin x, cos x, tan x, sec x, cot x, and cosec x. So first of all, domain. So what do you mean by domain? The possible values of x for which the sign and the functions are defined, right? You make a note of it. Possible values of x for which function is defined. Function is defined, right? So x could be anything. So R represents all real number. What R represents? All real number. For any value of x, sin x is defined. That is why here it is R. Here it is R. So for tan x, all real number except 2n, for n being an integer. Okay. So if n is an integer, then for all real number, but not at these values. Because at these values there is no defined value of y, because y becomes infinity, so that is why they are not defined. So that is why the domain is like this. And for sec x, all real number except the same, where n belongs to integer also. So what is about cot x? So cot x is cos x upon sin x, so all real number except n pi, where n belongs to an integer. Okay. And for cosec x, same thing. Okay, so This is what is domain, right? And next thing is range. So what is about the range? So range is going to be -1 to 1, right? So you know that what the brackets are, -1 to 1. For 10x, it can attain any value, all real numbers, -infinity to infinity. So sec(x), they can also attain anything, but not a value from -1 to 1. Okay, not this bracket. You know about that, what that bracket means, right? -1 and 1 is excluded. Okay, so are all real number except this. For cot x, all real number, they can attain any values. For cosec x, all real number except -1 to 1. Right, so this is what. Next thing is period. What is their period? You know that, no? What is period? And what is the range? Possible values of functions. Possible values of function. Okay, so what the function can attain. So the value of sin x is always lying between -1 to 1. It can be -1 and 1 also. So that is what period is. Range is. So what is period? Period is the interval. So the range of angle after which they will repeat themselves. Okay, so that is going to be very helpful in order to get any value, any trigonometric function value at any angle, right? So for example, if you want me to calculate the value of sin 32 pi by 3, right? Sin 32 pi by 3 is very means you can say very big angle, but I can calculate it. So and in the same way, if you told me to get the value of cot 35 pi by 3, that I can get also. So this period help us to calculate a value of trigonometric function at any angle. Okay, so we will see it later, but you should know that. So what is period? The angle, the range of angle after which trigonometric functions, that particular functions, repeat itself. The graph repeat itself. Okay, so that is what is period. So sin x 2 pi, it is 2 pi. This is pi. This is 2 pi. This is pi, and this is 2 pi. So this is these all are the periods. Okay, so and next thing is continuity. The continuity of function. Continuity is basically, if you draw the graph, so remember that continuity is always for the graph. For the graph, basically, if you draw the graph of all these 6 trigonometric functions, then is there any point where the graph of the function is not present? So that is known as the point of discontinuity. Means the function is not continuous over there. Okay, so you should know that what is continuity and what is means where the function is continuous and not continuous or discontinuous, right? So sin x is continuous everywhere. Okay, everywhere. It is continuous at everywhere. It is continuous everywhere. Everywhere except, so means it is continuous everywhere except all these particular angles, all these values, except at x equals to 2n plus 1 pi by 2, where n belongs to an integer. Right? Remember that same thing. Whatever going to be here, all these things is going to be here. They are continuous at every value of x, each and every values of x, but not at that particular angles. So you just have to write it up again. So same thing. So except at x equals to n pi, where n belongs to an integer. Okay. So same thing there, right? So this is how you know that. So you should know all this about, and the period is very helpful in order to calculate the value of function at any specific angles. So we are going to show them in the very next class. So for that particular class, you should know about okay, you should draw the graph. On one graph you have to draw all 6 trigonometric functions, and if possible, if you can do, okay, if you can do, then please try to draw a graph for me. Y equals to sin 2x. Try to draw the graph if you can, and in order to get the values, means which value means, for example, you want the value of 180. Okay, so sin 180, you put x equals to 90, you are going to get a sin 180. Sin 180 is 2 pi. So you by calculator or by sum me, you get the value there. You don't have to means if you don't know the value of sine 2 pi, you do calculator. There is smart calculators in your mobile, that from there you can find it. So I'm just let you to solve the questions. Y equals to sine 2x is so you have to make a graph of y equals to sine 2x and y equals to sine 3x. Okay, let's make it cos 3x. Okay, and one more, y equals to tan 2x. If you can do this, so it's not very difficult, but if you can do it, very good. And you have to, after drawing the graph and observing the graph, you have to tell me what is the period of these particular graphs. Okay, so period is not very important in 11th class, but for if you are preparing for competitive exams, so they will give you a function, and they will ask you what is the period is. Okay, so I will show you something, some like type of tricks based on the pattern they follow. So how can you calculate the period directly or very means in very short time, but so basics should be clear. So that is why I am saying that you draw the graph of this and try to get the period from that particular graphs.